Hello, my friends. It's Monday, July 21st, 2025, and I'm your host, Radical Russ Belville, your Red State refugee. And welcome to the Radical Russ Show, coming to you from Rolla J Studios in my undisclosed mountain hideaway in the beautiful state of Jefferson region of Southern Oregon. Coming up on today's smoke session, Trump throws out the kitchen sink to distract from Epstein, and Pelosi wants to help him. CBS cans Colbert, so we're axing Paramount. Democrats in New York are struggling to vote blue no matter who, when blue is a socialist. A new camera angle brings more doubt to the alleged assassination attempt on Trump. The UK is lowering the voting age to 16. A federal agreement bars Idaho from prosecuting out-of-state abortions. And a Christian doctor in Tennessee refuses to treat an unwed pregnant woman. But before we get to all that serious stuff, first we got three quick hits to get to. And you saw the video at the Coldplay concert, the kiss cam, where the CEO and the head of human relations are caught having an affair. I love this. The meme is going around. The Philadelphia Phillies had their mascots doing a reenactment of the kiss cam. People are doing it now all over the stadiums. And I gotta say, you really fucked up fucking around when you become a meme about it. Oh my God, can you imagine the fallout for these people and their families? And a lot of the discussion I'm seeing online is like, well, whatever happened to privacy and why do we share these terrible things? I'm like, come on, folks. If you're having an affair, you got to be a little slyer than that. There's a reason why it's called the down low. Also, we got some fantastic news with the prisoner swap that was announced. Venezuela and El Salvador, the dictator there, releasing a lot of those Venezuelan prisoners who were deported, illegally trafficked to these prisons, including Andry José Hernández Romero, the gay hairdresser who made headlines when we saw him forced to the ground, his head being shaved. He was begging for his mother and crying. The stories coming out now from these people that were held there about the torture, the beatings that they received on a regular basis. And these are, of course, the first prisoners after Abrego Garcia to be released from that CCOT prison. So the walls are starting to crumble here. I think Bukele might have gotten kind of a message that while war criminals like Netanyahu and Trump and Kissinger can get away with not going before the ICC in The Hague and spending their time in a prison cell for the rest of their life, doesn't always go so well for the smaller tin pot dictators of darker complexions. Other fantastic news. I lived in Portland, Oregon for 15 years, and during those 15 years were some of the greatest years for Portland basketball with Damian Lillard, the all-star. So many amazing last-second shots, Dame time. Well, it turns out Damian Lillard's heading back to Portland, Oregon. He's going back to becoming a Trailblazer after spending, I think it was 3 years with the Milwaukee Bucks in search of a ring that he was never able to get. He's going to close out his career as a Blazer in the place he calls home, where his family still lives. Portland loves Dame Lillard, and I love the Blazers and Dame Lillard too. So glad to hear he's coming back. For the third podcast in a row, our main story is the continuing evolution of the Trump-Epstein scandal. And I'm telling you, in the era of Trump, for a story to stay on the top of the headlines for 3 weeks straight that's negative about him, you know this is a scandal. The latest revelation comes from the Wall Street Journal, which published what it called a letter that was part of a 50th birthday celebration for Jeffrey Epstein, put together by his girlfriend slash co-conspirator Ghislaine Maxwell, where friends of Jeffrey Epstein's sent in these birthday cards, and she put them together, bound together in a book for him for his 50th birthday. And the card, allegedly from Trump, is first of all, it's the drawing of a naked woman with a thick black marker. Gee, like a Sharpie, maybe? Do we know anybody that's fond of drawing with Sharpies? Anyway, a crude outline drawing of a woman's hourglass figure with little crude boobies along the top. And then where the pubic hair would be for the woman is his signature, his little squiggle signature for pubic hair, which I love Tim Miller from The Bulwark. His take on that was it's the most exculpatory part of the story because at least Trump was drawing a woman who is old enough to have pubic hair. Huh. So anyway, in the letter, and I think I've got a copy of this. Hold on, let me pull this up. Here's the letter. It begins with, it's written like a script, like a teleplay. And it begins with a voiceover that says, "There must be more to life than having everything." And then the character Donald says, "Yes, there is, but I won't tell you what it is." The character Jeffrey says, "Nor will I, since I know also what it is." "We have certain things in common, Jeffrey." "Yes, we do, come to think of it." "Enigmas never age. Have you noticed that?" "As a matter of fact, it was clear to me the last time I saw you." "A pal is a wonderful thing. Happy birthday, and may every day be another wonderful secret." So this is something that was typed up by Trump or directed from Trump is the implication here, according to the reporting in the Wall Street Journal, of a little teleplay where Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein are talking about there's more to life than everything, the certain things they have in common, the enigmas that never age, the wonderful secrets that they share. And when I first saw this, I was struck by the part that said enigmas never age. So I'm like, what? How would Donald Trump know the word enigma? That doesn't sound like a Trumpian word. Enigmas never age. What is an enigma? Enigma is a mystery, right? A secret, a puzzle that's unsolvable, right? So enigma doesn't really work in the frame of secrets in this context, because he's already said another wonderful secret later on in the letter. So what is the mystery? What could be a mystery or an unsolvable problem? So it really didn't fit to me. I'm like, why would Trump use the word enigmas? That doesn't make any sense to me. And then someone online, Super Lorna69 is her handle, says enigmas is an anagram of gamings, Gamines. Oh, okay. So you go look up what gamings is. And what do you know? Gamings means young girls, coquettish young girls, waifs, pixie, think Audrey Hepburn looking, thin, small breasts, boyish hips. That's gaming. Okay, so maybe it's a little far-fetched because people are like, oh, sure, Russ, if he doesn't know enigmas, how's he going to know gamings? How's he going to know an anagram of anything? He wouldn't. Trump wouldn't know these things. But Jeffrey Epstein would. Jeffrey Epstein's a smart guy. He would know about anagrams. He would know about gamings. And maybe that's their little joke. That's one of their little secrets is they've got this little code word that they use to discuss the secret that they have in common. All right. Maybe it's far-fetched, maybe not, but it sure does fit. And there's other parts of this scandal that one of the things that's funny to me about this is I saw a meme that came out that showed two paths diverging in the woods and the MAGA standing in the middle of the path. On the path to the left is admit liberals were right. And the path to the right is support a child molester. And I can tell you, folks, there's going to be a lot of those MAGA who are going to take the path to the right. They're going to be fully in the cult. And no matter what comes out on this Epstein stuff, they're going to find a way to defend it. They're going to find a way to keep supporting him. You're going to find a lot of these MAGAs Googling the definition of ephebophilia No, he's not a pedophile. All these girls were past the age of pubescence. He wasn't a child molester. No, they're not actual children. You're going to start, I'm telling you, I'm making the call right now. Some of these people are so deeply into the cult that they're going to find a way to excuse his abuse of girls as young as 13 years old. We've got the testimony of the one girl in that one case who testified to Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein raping her and then slapping her around because she wasn't good enough at sex. You can look that up. And of course, Trump is trying to throw everything and the kitchen sink out to try to distract everybody from what is so clear to all of us who've been following Trump since going back to his Playboy interview days, going back to the 90s even. The guy owned the Miss Teen USA pageant and bragged about walking backstage and being able to see the girls naked. Miss Teen USA, we're talking 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old girls. We've got the numerous interviews of him on The View and these other outlets where he's talking lustily about his own daughter, Ivanka, where the General Mattis had to rebuke him, saying, you know, you're talking, he's going off talking about Ivanka's breasts and her butt, and the general has to say, you know, you're talking about your own daughter, don't you? We got the audio tape of him seeing the young girl, the little 10 or 11-year-old girl, going up the escalator and saying, yeah, I'll be dating her in 10 years. This is not secret stuff. Like, it's been out there in the public domain. We've got the Access Hollywood tape of him bragging about how being a star, you can grab him by the pussy. And they let you do it. And then his subsequent deposition in the E. Jean Carroll trial, where she's asking about that. They grab him by the pussy, and he doesn't deny it. And he said, well, for millions of years, it's been true. They do. They let you do it. I suppose it just happens. It's just the way things are. Just casually accepting that that's the way life is. You just grab women. That's the way it goes, especially when you're a star. All of this stuff is out there. Just volumes and volumes of connections. All the pictures of him with Epstein. Epstein saying he was my best friend for 10 years. The flight logs where he was on Epstein's plane 7 different times. This mountain of evidence. And finally, MAGAs are going, hey, wait a minute. Maybe there's something there. Finally, the conspiracy theory, and this is where I love it, is Trump is hoisted by his own petard here. Because part of what rushed him into office was this QAnon conspiracy theory of the great satanic democratic cabal of elite globalist leaders who are running a global child sex trafficking ring and harvesting their adrenochrome for their brains so that they can have, eternal life or whatever the latest QAnon stuff is. He rode that wave. He stoked that fire of conspiracy theories that here was coming the storm, and Trump was one of the elite. He was inside. He was the insider who knew how these terrible, awful, satanic pedophiles worked. And once he gained the reins of power, he would be able to take them down. And so now, finally, reelected and free of all the guardrails and constraining influences, finally he could unleash the storm to take down the satanic democratic cabal, take down Bill Clinton, take down Bill Gates, take down all of these terrible democratic satanic pedophiles. And there's nothing to see here. Oh no, Jeffrey Epstein killed himself, and the files have nothing in them. There's nothing more to see here. Everybody move on. Yeah, it's not gonna work. You got your whole MAGA base riled up to take down the satanic pedophiles, and it's funny too, because I was talking to other people about this, and I got to tell them, you realize that MAGA still isn't to the point where they think Trump is in on it. You understand that, right? They're not yet to the point where Trump is actually one of the pedophiles and is covering up to save his own ass. They're not there yet. A lot of them are still at the point, well, somebody's got something on Trump, or somebody's forcing him to cover up for somebody else who's powerful. There's other powerful names on the list, and they're forcing Trump to... They're in a cult. They're having trouble breaking through it. And so it's our job to make sure he can't distract his way out of this like he distracts his way out of everything. He's tried everything. He's got this video out now, the AI video of Obama being cuffed and stuffed and in orange jumpsuit. He puts out the picture, the Brady Bunch looking picture with Susan Rice and Obama and Biden, all these people in their orange jumpsuits, like kind of come arrest him. And folks, it's not a distraction. It's very serious. We also should note that this is a further descent into our fascism. We've got this talking about renaming the Washington racial slur team. You know, the Commanders and the Cleveland Guardians go back to their original racial slur names. He's trying everything to try to get us to we're going to reopen Alcatraz. We're going to reopen the actual Alcatraz, a place that at most could hold 300 people, and then you'd have to spend millions and millions to retrofit it to hold anyone securely, and it would be cheaper just to build a brand new prison. But, you know, he saw Escape from Alcatraz on the Monday night movie one time and thought the name sounded cool, and so he's got to go for that. He's trying everything to distract from the Epstein thing. So, the other one I wanted to point out too, somebody unearthed this column from Maureen Dowd from the New York Times, going all the way back to 1997, this column, and how he's pointing out how the black community loves him. And whenever there's a party with Puff Daddy or with Russell Simmons, they're quick to invite him. Just another log on the fire there as far as evidence of palling around with abusers, sexual abusers and pedophiles and pimps. Somebody else put out a list where there's 20 or 30 different people who've been implicated or actually prosecuted for child sex crimes that are friends of Trump's. Like, who knows that many pedophiles? Who knows that many sex creeps? Other sex creeps. So all these distractions, he's trying to distract everyone from Epstein. So the Democrats, of course, should be hammering on this nonstop. And some of them are, to their credit, because this is the first time we've got a serious break in the MAGA fever, where seriously a political wound has been suffered here by Trump and the Republican Party. So where do you suppose the illustrious 85-year-old Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi comes down on this?
Is it your sense there's anything the president can do now to get his supporters to move off of the Epstein issue? Should he? Where do you land on this?
You know, again, this is a distraction.
Yeah, that's it. Epstein is the distraction. Trump is sitting around going, oh, you know, this big, beautiful bill that we passed, everybody hates it. Everybody hates the big, beautiful bill and the rescission package of cutting NPR. Everybody hates that. So I know, I'll distract everyone by putting myself at the center of a global sex trafficking ring scandal. That's what I'll do. I'll distract everyone from, my legislative priorities.
Things we're voting on today in the Congress, again, in terms of the rescission that the president and the Senate have sent back over us to cut all of these resources out of helping poor people throughout the world, to America play its leadership role in soft power to keep us safe and to keep us healthy, so that viruses know no boundary.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I had to wake up there for a second. I'm sorry. We were talking about, Trump being using Epstein as a distraction from all of these legislative things that people are so concerned of. See, here's the problem, Nancy. You and I and Democrats and people that are going to vote left and pay attention to the news, yeah, we are upset about the rescission package and the big, beautiful bill and the exploding of the debt and the cutting of the Medicaid and the rounding up of the brown people and the concentration. Yeah, we're upset about all that. But the MAGA aren't. The right isn't. The Republicans are not. And that's why this Epstein thing is so important. Because in addition to legislating and having policies and governing, you also have to win elections, Nancy. And that requires politics. Do you think for a second, if there were the hint of any sort of scandal like this around Joe Biden or Barack Obama, that the right wouldn't be pouncing on it and it wouldn't be a daily news event with daily press conferences, with daily reports on every news channel about it? Hey, Nancy, you're 85. You lived through it. You lived through Bill Clinton and the Monica Lewinsky scandal, where MSNBC basically became a network based on running anti-Bill Clinton, Monica Lewinsky scandal stories at the lead of every newscast. We lived through Hillary Clinton and Benghazi, when the mere hint of some sort of mistake led to 11 hours of hearings. And you can say what you will about that strategy, but it seems to have worked. The Monica Lewinsky hammering away at that little political weakness of Bill Clinton's worked. It got Al Gore sullied up so bad he had to French kiss his wife at the DNC to prove he was a true red-blooded married American man. He had to distance himself from the successful Clinton presidency as far as the economic issues in the record. And it seemed to have worked with Hillary Clinton, too. It damaged her. You've got to, Democrats, start damaging your political opponents. You've got to be sharks. You've got to sense blood in the water and go after them. Not stuff like this.
At its own basis has its own views of what the president should do. I'll leave it up to them to talk it out.
His own base has their own views, and I'll leave it to them to talk it out. Why would we want to fan the flames here? Why would we want to make things any more difficult for the Republicans having this internecine battle between their MAGA base and their current administration? Why would we want to make things any more difficult for them?
But I think that they're both off the subject of what is happening, changing the character and the culture of America by undermining, by placing huge trillions of dollars of national debt on the for future generations to carry forward at the expense of the health, nutrition, education of the American people.
You know, at some point, you got to start questioning why certain Democrats are so eager, as much as Trump is, to get off the subject of Epstein. Is there a fear here that it's going to implicate some heavy hitters on the Democratic side? Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton. Is that the problem? And if it is, then you're just as complicit. You're just as complicit as covering up for Trump here if the fear is that it's going to take down Bill Clinton or anyone else. And as far as I'm concerned, it's about time Bill Clinton got taken down. I don't understand why the Democratic Party still continues to elevate him to any sort of position of reverence or acceptance. The man is more responsible for everything that has happened up to this point than anyone else because he couldn't keep his slick willy in his pants. You know that little meme that's out there that's got the dominoes where there's somebody at the little tiny domino and then the dominoes are bigger and bigger until there's one that's like 6 foot tall. It's, you know, and this, the little thing that happened that led to the big thing that happened. For me, okay, maybe we could blame Linda Tripp a bit as well. But for me, it's Bill Clinton taking advantage of his position of power, using it to get a young girl to satisfy his needs in the Oval Office. The blowjob that cost us everything. Because of the Monica Lewinsky scandal and his lying under oath about it, that led to the Republican witch hunt. That led to all of the scandal and cloud around the end of the second term of Clinton's largely successful administration by a number of metrics. That led to Al Gore not being as strong of a candidate as he could have been. That led to the election being close enough for the corrupt Republican Supreme Court to give it to George W. Bush. That led to the presidential daily briefing being ignored on August 6th that warned that bin Laden was going to fly planes into the World Trade Center. That led, of course, to 9/11. That led to the global war on terror. That led to us in Abu Ghraib and sanctioning torture. That led to those Bush people getting away with it when Obama wouldn't prosecute all those people for the war crimes they committed. That led to Obama being a bit of a milquetoast president, despite the fact that we give him a plus 57 House, a plus 7 Senate that eventually became, for 187 working days, a filibuster-proof Senate, a plus 7% popular vote margin, and a 69% approval rating. But he couldn't codify Roe or go too far or hold anybody accountable because he had to be all Mr. Careful. That led, of course, to the ascendance of Trump and yada, 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 yada. Basically, if Bill Clinton kept his slick willy in his pants, Al Gore could have been president. We could have avoided 9/11, avoided the global war on terror, not created the Department of Homeland Security, not created ICE, and had a 25-year head start on doing something about the climate change that is currently causing flash flooding in Texas and in New Mexico and killing camps full of girls and hundreds of people missing and dead, and wildfires spreading all across the planet. All of it. Thanks to Bill Clinton. So, hey, yeah, release the Epstein list. I hope Bill Clinton's name's on it. For our national story today, we'll talk about the capitulation of the Tiffany network to becoming the Cubic Zirconia network. CBS announced on, I think it was Wednesday or Thursday, that they were ending The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. They weren't firing Stephen Colbert so much as canceling the entire show, the #1 late night talk show on broadcast television, one whose ratings had been going up. They cited a financial concern, saying it's so expensive to put on late night shows, competitive environment, falling advertising, yada, yada, yada. But yeah, it was a financial concern. The financial concern, of course, being that Paramount is involved in a merger, trying to get a merger through with Skydance that's worth billions and billions of dollars, and Trump's FCC could hold it up, and that's why they want to capitulate and make Trump happy. The news came after Monday's show. On Monday's show, Colbert came on and told jokes that basically called out Paramount for submitting this bribe before this one was the 60 Minutes bribe, where they settled the frivolous lawsuit by Trump over an edited interview with Kamala Harris. Had no merit whatsoever. Even CBS admitted that if they'd gone to court with this, they would expected to have won. But then at what cost? They would have won the lawsuit. They got the lawsuit kicked out, but then they wouldn't be able to do their nice little merger with Skydance, which, by the way, Skydance is owned by Larry Ellison's kid, Larry Ellison, the Oracle billionaire. So yeah, we're going to have another billionaire owning another major media property and controlling the editorial decisions that come out of it. We've already heard from 60 Minutes how some of their producers quit in protest because there's now more editorial decisions of theirs being questioned by the administration. This is something authoritarians always do, clamp down on the media, especially on the comedians that make fun of them, Colbert being one of the best. Now, this means we all, of course, have to boycott Paramount. We have to add this to our Idaho boycott. We're also going to boycott Paramount. And there's a lot of Paramount properties. You may not know all of them to boycott. So let me give you a rundown. Paramount is the company behind Showtime, Comedy Central. And that kind of sucks for me because I really love my Daily Show podcasts. But nope, going to have to cancel that. MTV, VH1, really no big deal to me since they stopped showing music on those shows. BET, Nickelodeon. Well, I'm not black and don't have kids, so I like some stuff on BET, actually. Paramount Network, that's the Yellowstone that's out there. Some of the old folks like that show. Gonna have to cancel that. CMT, Country Music Television, cancel that. TV Land, all the old sitcoms on TV Land, got to cancel that. Smithsonian Channel, cancel that. Ooh, this one hurts. Pluto TV, that's the free TV app out there. Got to cancel Pluto TV. Tubi is pretty good. Check out Tubi. It's a good alternative. And, of course, Paramount Plus, which really bums me out because Star Trek Strange New Worlds was coming out, new season of that I wanted to binge. And Lady Love and I just buy just one streamer, and we watch it for like 3 months, and then we cancel it, and we get a different streamer and watch it for 3 months, try to binge all the good shows on it. Well, no more. Can't do that for Paramount Plus. And understand, too, that maybe you're not subscribing to these things, but when you turn on your smart TV, like your Samsung or your Roku TV, that app is sitting there, delete the app. Delete the app off your Samsung or Roku or your smart TV, because they track that stuff too. Because that app out there is just like a trap waiting for you to subscribe to it. Delete that off there. That'll show up in their bottom line as well. And I'm telling you, they're not going to stop. This administration is not going to stop trying to strong arm people, satirists, any incisive, effective political satirist who's going after Donald Trump is not safe. Seth Meyers, John Oliver, Jon Stewart. Well, I guess Jimmy Fallon's safe. Time to turn my attention to the Democratic side of the aisle, and in legislative news, the Genius Act has passed and become law. This is the Trump stable coin cryptocurrency law that he's been so eager to get passed, because while it contains a provision that prevents any members of Congress, elected officials, or judges from being able to use these stable crypto coins to enrich themselves and take bribes, there's an exemption for the President of the United States, his staff, and his family. That's right. This crypto bill is written in such a way that your senator, your representative, they can't get involved in this crypto scheme. But the president is certainly allowed to continue his Trump coin, his Melania coin, to be able to easily take millions, hell, maybe billions of dollars worth of bribes with no accountability, with no way of tracking what's going on, who's given what to whom for what. And, you know, of course this thing's going to pass because why? The Republicans have, you know, at least a 3-vote margin in the House, and they've got like the 4 or 5 votes in the Senate. So of course it was going to pass, but it didn't have to pass with 100 Democrats in the House supporting it. That's right. 100 House Democrats, including, of course, the odious Janelle Bynum, the alleged Democrat up here in Oregon, who also voted for the Lake and Riley Act. She's become quite a reliable Trump vote lately. 100 Democrats vote for this. And it just goes back to my principle of this thing. We have an insurrectionist traitor in the White House. We are under attack. This is a fascist coup, hell-bent in establishing a white Christian nationalist theocracy in this country, stripping the rights away from women, gays and lesbians, and immigrants, and transgender people. That is their stated goal. They've already accomplished 40% of what they set out to do in Project 2025. The only thing Democrats should be doing at this point is voting against everything they want. Everything. You don't even need to read the bill. It could be the Help Puppies and Orphans Act of 2025. If Trump wants it passed, you vote against it. Don't give me this, oh, well, there are certain things in the crypto thing, and I think that there's a good chance of it. No! If this administration wants it, you vote against it. This is no longer the same politics of the past where we have two parties with slightly different views on taxation and government expenditures that are engaged in good faith efforts and dialogue to come up with bipartisan consensus on how best to move the country forward for the majority of its citizens. That's not the world we live in. We are under attack. This is a civil war by every other metric but shooting. And you're helping it. I can't believe the Democrats that would go and help this. And one example, let's pivot to New York City here, because that's the big story in Democratic circles now, is the rise of Zoran Mamdani, who won the New York City primary with more votes than anyone has ever gotten in a New York City mayoral primary, who got more votes in his first round of ranked choice voting than Andrew Cuomo got total, the second place finisher got total of all rounds of voting. And yet, we can't get Democrats in New York State at the state level or the federal delegation to support him, to openly come right out and endorse him. So much for vote blue no matter who. Boy, whenever progressives are rising up, the Bernie Sanders is rising up and loses in the primary, it's all right, you progressives, vote blue no matter who. You got to get behind Hillary. And to his credit, Bernie Sanders did. After he lost his primary in 2016 to Hillary Clinton, he went canvassing across the country for her, held rallies for her all across the country. And far more Bernie Sanders primary voters in 2016 voted for Hillary Clinton than Hillary Clinton primary voters in 2008 voted for Barack Obama. Remember Puma's Party Unity My Ass? That was the centrist call back in 2008 after progressive, then comparatively progressive Barack Obama won. Yeah, there's a great report out right now in the New Republic. Great article on this whole phenomenon of how vote blue no matter who doesn't seem to be in effect when we're talking about centrist Democrats. And I just wanted to read a couple of things from this. We've got Chuck Schumer, the Senate Minority Leader, senator from New York State, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, a representative from New York State, and New York Governor Kathy Hochul, who have all refused to endorse Zoran Mamdani. New York State, or the other New York senator, the junior senator from New York, Kirsten Gillibrand, she went on a bigoted rant claiming that Zoran supported global jihad. She later had to go and apologize about that. Even state representatives are trying to distance themselves, saying, we're not a socialist. Oh, no, we're not socialists like Mamdani is. We're not socialists. So vote blue no matter who, unless that person might be a socialist. So in the meantime, we've got all these centrists trying to rally around Andrew Cuomo, who lost the Democratic primary and now has decided he's going to run as an independent. How is it that you have a party, and in that party, the people who are members of your party run in an election for the primary, and if they lose that primary, how is it that you do not excommunicate them if they dare try to run as an independent against the person who your primary voters selected? This is why we don't support the Democratic Party as deeply as you might like us to. Because when we follow the rules and we engage in the primary process and we actually win it, you do everything you can to subvert it and bring back the centrists. So here you got Adams running as an independent who won his mayoralty as a Democrat. You've got Andrew Cuomo, who ran in the Democratic primary as a Democrat, now deciding he's going to run as an independent. And he's spouting off stuff like this.
When you own, it is a different culture to the community, right? Mm-hmm. You're vested.
Right.
You're not renting. That's your property. When you're in the hotel room, how many towels do you use?
That's right.
The utter disdain dripping from his lips for poor and working class people who have no choice in an economy like this but to rent, treating them as if they're just hotel guests who leave extra towels on the floor. Not like us owners, not like those of us in the landed gentry class who actually care about our properties and our neighborhoods. Not like you filthy, low-down renters. I can't understand why he's finishing second, trailing badly to Zoran Mamdani, a guy who speaks like this.
Being a politician means listening, not just to your supporters, but your critics too. And some of these critics, especially on a certain website, have been giving me consistent advice. For example, at SamWhite087, Zoran, go back to Uganda, where you come from and belong. At Teflon Gone, loser, go back to Africa. There are thousands like this from across the country. I hear you. And I agree. I'm going back to Uganda. I'm headed there in a personal capacity to celebrate Rama and I's marriage with our family and friends. But I do want to apologize to the haters, because I will be coming back.
How can you not like this guy? This is something Democratic politicians need to understand and become a little more savvier in this media landscape, is to understand that Republican attacks are in bad faith. And he takes that idea, you'll go back to Africa, this haterade that gets thrown at him, and he takes it in real time and throws it back and makes a mockery of these people. That's what they need. That's what we need when you're facing fascism, is mockery. That can take it down. And read the experts on this stuff, of how mockery is so effective in taking down fascist regimes. And he doesn't spare any punches for the right-wing fascist media and how they would cover it either.
And since you will undoubtedly read about this trip in the New York Post, inshallah on the front page, here are a few of my humble suggestions for headlines. MIA, Mamdani in Africa. Uganda miss me. He's completely crazy. He can't be serious. Carl Kampala-Neely investigates Mamdani. Zoe running away.
This guy is so natural and self-deprecating and wonderful as a politician. He's got major approval rating. He's in the positives. He's well liked by the Democratic base. He's communicating and connecting with younger people. And meanwhile, you've got the DNC, the Democratic Party out there. We need to spend $20 million to figure out how to connect with young people. We need to find a Joe Rogan of the left. How can we talk to young men? What's going to get voters to like us and bring our approval rating up from, what is it, -19 now? Whatever it's at, latest polls. He's right there. Get behind Zoran Mamdani. Get behind these young progressive candidates who are exciting people. But they institutionally can't. These establishment Democrats cannot. Since the elevation of Bill Clinton in 1992 and the Third Way and all that neoliberal centrist claptrap, getting the donors behind you, they are beholden to the donor class now. We don't have two parties. We have two capitalist parties. We got the far-right fascist white Christian nationalist capitalist party, and we've got the diversity capitalist party, which is all fine and well with us having rights and privileges and recognizing diverse groups, so long as we don't upset the apple cart, so long as we don't rock the boat as far as corporate profits go. Oh, we'll tinker around the edges and try to get you a little more health care through the Obamacare subsidies that perhaps won't expire, or maybe the next Congress can fix, or yada, 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 instead of standing for something. Instead of standing for something like healthcare is a human right. Healthcare is a human right. Every human should have it. The government should guarantee it to us all. Be like Kennedy, who said in the 1960s, we're going to go to the moon. Not because it's easy, but because it's hard. He didn't get himself all weighed down in the specifics of the rocketry or how we're going to get there or what stages we're going to take. He set a goal, he had aspirations, and he set the country toward doing it. That's the kind of leadership we're looking for. And Zoran Mamdani starts talking about things like, free and fast buses and rent freezes and stuff that would actually help people. And all the centrist Democrats can do is crap on it, say, we're not socialists. We got to back ourselves away from socialism. Well, you know what a socialist is? A socialist is an American who believes the radical idea that tax dollars ought to go toward forming a more perfect union, establishing justice, ensuring domestic tranquility, promoting the general welfare, and securing the blessing of liberty, not just providing for the common defense and billionaire bailouts. All right, let's turn to my right and take a look at what the Republicans are up to. And I see that the Judiciary Committee, in the Senate Judiciary Committee, they're trying to move forward. Actually, they moved forward the nomination of Emile Bove to a lifetime judge job in the federal government. And this guy's so odious that over 900 former and current federal officials, I don't know if any current ones, former federal officials, former judges, wrote a letter urging his rejection. He's basically one of these terrible MAGA scumbags with no respect for the rule of law, who has attacked the Department of Justice on numerous occasions, basically giving the fox the keys to the hen house on this deal. And he got through the Senate Judiciary Committee on a party line vote in which the Democrats walked out. So here we are, folks, 6 months in to fascism in America, and Democrats are finally walking out of stuff. Hey, we've made some progress. Maybe they recognize the attack we're under. And Cory Booker had some words for the chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee, who is Chuck Grassley. Now, if you don't know, Chuck Grassley, the senator from Iowa, has been in elected office for, let's see, well over 50 years. So he was first elected to the Iowa House of Representatives in 1959. That's right, 1959. He served in the Iowa House until he was elected as a representative in the U.S. Congress from Iowa in 1975, served a few terms there, and then in 1981 became the senior senator for the state of Iowa, where he has served ever since. So this guy has been a politician in elected office, not having a real job, since the Eisenhower administration. So I know I rag on Democrats a lot for having these guys that are way too old in office, but Chuck Grassley, I see you. The other thing I needed to go off on is this obsequious little Christian sex freak, Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House. You know, the one who has the porn monitoring app on his phone that he shares with his son, so his son gets an alert in case he's wanking off to some porn. Yeah, these people are freaks. They're weirdos. Anyway, we just had the 1-year anniversary of that so-called attempted assassination of Donald Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania, that was avoided thanks to the terrible aim of Thomas Crooks, who was shot and killed by the Secret Service, who had somehow let him on top of a building that was within a good sniper position of a shot at a presidential candidate, and had noticed him before and didn't do anything to take him off that roof. Very interesting. But anyway, Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, was discussing this the other day, and discussing how President Trump's life was spared thanks to the divine intervention of the Lord God.
Social media platforms removed his ability to communicate with his supporters.
Yeah, because he was using hate speech and trying to goad them with stochastic terrorism, but go on.
Armed FBI agents raided his home.
Yeah, because he had stacks and stacks of boxes of classified top secret material illegally stored in his shitter, but go on.
Democrat judges and prosecutors bent the law to arrest him.
Yeah, sure. They, in 4 different jurisdictions for 91 different felony counts, 34 of which were heard by a jury of his peers, and he was convicted of them. But yeah, it was all Democrats. Go on.
And multiple assassins tried to kill him.
The one assassin, Thomas Crooks, was well known to be a far-right MAGA supporter, and the other so-called assassin was at his Mar-a-Lago golf course yards and yards and yards away, who never even got a shot off or was anywhere near him. But yeah, okay, 2 assassination attempts. Go on.
But God miraculously spared the president's life. I think it's undeniable, and he did it for an obvious purpose. And his presidency and his life are the fruits of divine providence, and he points that out, obviously, now all the time, and he's right to do so.
And the fact that, you know, a firefighter had to die in order for Trump to fulfill God's plan, well, you know, God's a little sloppy on the details sometimes. Every now and then, an innocent person who's a family man, just has to be needlessly killed in order for Trump to be able to tell everyone how God has protected him and how he's the holy divine emperor.
President Trump took a bullet to his head. He got up shortly thereafter. He pleaded with the crowd to fight.
And yeah, he took a bullet to the head. Sure, he did. He somehow took a bullet to the ear, took a bullet to cartilage, which does not grow back. And yet, when we look at all the photos of Trump's ear these days, there doesn't seem to be a scar, a nick, a bruise, nothing. His ear is perfectly formed. So, did he really take a bullet to the head, Mike Johnson? That's a question a lot of people are asking this week after the revelation of a new video. This has been going around social media, TikTok and such. A video that purports to show a new angle. Well, it does. It shows a new angle of the assassination attempt in Butler. Try and find it online if you can. I've got it posted in my social media feed, and I'll have a link to it in the show notes. But it's pretty compelling. What it shows is a view from the front of the stage, down low, looking up toward the lectern where Trump is speaking. And as he's speaking, before he's shot at, there is a official, someone who's behind the security, front gate there of, like when you're at a concert, there's kind of that front partition. So he's behind that between the stage and the people. And he moves off to our left. We see this guy move off to the left. And then the gunshots ring out. And the action's happening on stage. We see the Secret Service agents collapse around Trump. And that same guy who had moved off to the left comes back into frame. And he's hustling, leading, herding, if you will, 3 or 4 photographers to get to the front so they can take the pictures of Trump with the blood on his ear and the Secret Service agents surrounding him. And as they're getting into place, you can see the crane that's got the flag behind him is lowering the flag into position so it can be in the shot. It is some chilling footage. It looks so stage managed, like they knew this was coming. And my lady love looks at the footage and says, you see that agent there up on the stage? That's the one that slaps the blood pack onto his ear. Now, you can't really make that out, but if that were what was happening up there, that is kind of what it looks like. That one guy, you can kind of see him reach down and around. So, did they really stage this? You know me, I'm a person who's very skeptical of conspiracy theories. I always believe never attribute to malice what you can attribute to incompetence or stupidity. And I'm willing to believe that the Secret Service could have been incompetent enough to let this guy on the roof. I'm willing to believe that the shooter was incompetent enough to have missed. I'm even willing to believe that the bullet came so close to Trump's ear that it didn't actually, the steel of the bullet didn't touch his ear, but the shock wave that's around the bullet as it travels at a supersonic speed burst the blood vessels at the surface of his ear. I could even believe that. Like, I can find ways to be skeptical that this was a conspiracy to stage an assassination attempt for a presidential candidate who had fallen far behind, who had, remember, he had just come off of the debate with Kamala Harris, their one debate where he's saying they're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs, and she was doing all these rallies and getting a lot of support. Would they stage an assassination attempt and do it with live ammo, knowing they're risking the lives of the people in the crowd that would be around Trump? Would they sacrifice people's lives to stage an assassination attempt to boost his political value before the election? This new footage, it's making me much harder for me to be skeptical anymore. Well, Well, now let's take a look across the pond at some international news. And I get word that the United Kingdom is looking at lowering its voting age to 16 years old to allow 16 and 17-year-olds to vote. And this is an interesting proposition because on the one hand, I'm very much in favor of expanding franchise. I think more people ought to be able to vote. However, my leanings on that are that we should be expanding the franchise to people who've had it wrongfully taken away. That is, I think people that are in jail, even for felonies, should be able to vote. I think everybody should be able to vote. I don't think that being convicted of a crime is something that should take away your right to vote. Now, there's two states that agree with me, Maine and Vermont, actually allow felons to vote. Even currently incarcerated felons on death row can vote in those states. Now, I get people like, well, they've given up their right to vote by committing a crime. They've committed a crime and they lose their right to vote. No, because as we know, people can be wrongfully convicted. It's the same reason I support enfranchising felons is the same reason I am against the death penalty. Because people get wrongfully convicted. And imagine being wrongfully convicted of something and then having absolutely no say in who could change the laws to undo your conviction. Who could press forward as your elected representative to take your case to the courts. Nobody should ever lose their right to vote. So when it comes to the franchise, I'm like, yeah, let's expand the franchise. Let's give it to, the convicted criminals. And people that worry about that, what criminals all get the right to vote? They'll vote to make theft legal. Yeah, right. Look, if you're creating so many criminals that they could actually be a voting bloc that could cause terrible damage, then you're creating too many criminals. That's the problem, is you've criminalized too many people. Regardless, people that have been convicted, they should have the right to vote so they can have a say over how they are being incarcerated, how they are being treated. Everybody deserves a say in our democracy. But should we extend it to 16 and 17-year-olds is the question, and that's where I get a little shaky on this. Because I kind of think that you should have some skin in the game. You should be an adult, a fully functioning member of our society, before we let you have a say over what's going on in society. At 16, you're still a junior in high school. Your frontal cortex isn't completely formed yet. This is something I always heard when I was doing, drug policy is, the frontal cortex is not fully completed until the age of 25. So you shouldn't take drugs before the age of 25 because your brain is still plastic and still developing. But for 9 years before the age of 25, we should let you pick who's got the control of the nuclear football? I don't know, man. I don't know. So originally, of course, right to vote was age 21. 21 is when you're an adult. And then in the Vietnam War, activists pointed out, hey, we're drafting these 18 and 19 and 20-year-olds who don't have the right to vote against politicians who'd have a draft, right? They're being drafted without any say in their deployment, without any say over their leadership. And that's when we passed, which amendment is it? I can't remember my amendments. One of them, I can't remember the amendment that lowered the voting age. 17th? Anyway. No, it had to be after the 17th. Anyway, doesn't matter. We lowered the voting age to 18 during the Vietnam War because it's only fair that if the government can draft you, you should be able to vote. And I'm all for that because we generally consider 18 to be an adult, except with respect to drinking and smoking pot. 18-year-olds can, vote, they can sign contracts, etc. But do we lower it to 16 and 17? Do we want people who say things like skibbity toilet to be able to vote? People who aren't income tax payers. They might have some taxes taken out, FICA taxes and stuff if they're working a summer job or whatever. But then I hear the other side. And the other side is, these people the 16, 17-year-olds are the ones being affected by climate change. Young people are being affected by cuts to schools, education funding, the Department of Education. Why shouldn't they have a say? And again, what would it hurt having them vote? And so they say skibbity toilet. We've got Nazis on the MAGA side that say Heil Hitler, and we let them vote too. So would it be bad to have 16 and 17-year-olds voting? I don't know. I still lean on the side of let's have an adult age, and then that's when you're an adult. You get the responsibilities of being an adult, and you get the rights of being an adult, instead of this phased-in thing. Because, you know, if it were me, I would actually lower the smoking and drinking and toking ages down to 18 as well. And that's part of where this argument in Britain is a little bit different, too, because they don't really have the same age structures with respect to alcohol like we do. I think they can drink at 16 there. So, you know, kind of, you've got the privilege there, you get the right to vote. I don't know. It's not something I feel so strongly on that if it passed and 16 and 17-year-olds were allowed to vote, that I'd be fighting to repeal it. I don't know that I feel so strongly for it that I'm going to go out of my way to support it. We'll see what happens with this, and I'd love to know what you think about it. You can send me your thoughts at radicalruss@gmail.com or hit me up on Blue Sky at radicalruss.com. That's the country baseline. It means it's time for our regular Boycott Idaho segment, where I tell you all the reasons you should avoid the handmaid state. Now up to 72 reasons. You can find them all at radicalruss.com/Idaho. Do your part. Boycott the potato. No red state is more singularly associated with one agricultural product than Idaho and the potato. They even brag about it on their license plates. Avoid the handmaid state. Boycott Idaho. And today's Boycott Idaho story has to do with a federal agreement that has come across the wire here that is settled a lawsuit with respect to abortion providers in the state. The state of Idaho and its Attorney General, Raul Labrador, are very eager to enforce the ban on abortion, the draconian ban on abortion in the state of Idaho that basically bans all abortions. It's supposedly a 6-week ban, but really it's all abortions. You just can't get an abortion in the state of Idaho. And they wanted to prosecute a couple of these doctors that were working with Planned Parenthood who had recommended for their patients to go across state lines over into Washington state and get abortion services, either abortion pills or actual abortion services. And they wanted to prosecute them for sending them out of state to get an abortion. It's not enough for the state of Idaho to treat all of the women who are in state as birthing slaves for the state. But those who wish to try to stop it, they want to reach across state lines and enforce Idaho laws in Washington. They want to force Idaho laws in Oregon. Well, the new decision at the federal court, Judge Windmill at the district court, they've come to a decision where the two county prosecuting attorneys who were involved in this and the state attorney general have agreed not to prosecute these two specific doctors for trying to recommend these abortion procedures out of state. So it's good news, kinda, but it's another one of these decisions that's kind of so specified and so specifically tailored to one set of doctors and one clinic and one situation that it doesn't really clear things up for everybody else in the state who might be in need of abortion procedures. But it just goes to show you how far these white Christian nationalists are going to go to install their theocracy and make sure that women are treated as second-class citizens whose main purpose in life is birthing them babies, and them fetuses have more rights to life than the woman themselves. Today in the Radical Rant, I want to talk about a clip that I picked up from the Tennessee Holler A woman in Tennessee speaking at a town hall meeting for one of her representatives, and it's in regards to a law that was passed in Tennessee that gives physicians these conscience clauses so that they can deny treatment to patients if they disagree with them on religious grounds. Listen to this woman's story.
I just found out that I'm pregnant again. I've been with my partner for about 15 years, though we're not married. I just had my first visit. The Tennessee Medical Defense Act that was passed, and that provider told me that thanks to that act, they were not comfortable treating me because I am an unwed mother, and that goes against their Christian values.
This woman has been with her partner for 15 years. They already have a 13-year-old child together. She's pregnant again, and her doctor won't treat her because she's unwed. A doctor won't treat a patient because his religious beliefs say that pregnant women should be married. He's not going to take care of, what, bastard kids? Is that what it is? He's just not going to... For the last time, your religion means your sacrifice, okay? If you believe in something, it is up to you to follow your beliefs. And if your beliefs come into conflict with something in the world, you're the one who has to sacrifice. The job of doctor, of obstetrician in this case, is to treat pregnant women. Pregnant straight women, pregnant lesbian women, pregnant trans men, pregnant black women, pregnant immigrant women, pregnant little people women, pregnant unmarried women. Your job as obstetrician is to treat pregnant women. And if that conflicts with your moral values, if that conflicts with your religious scripture, guess what? Doctor is not the job for you. Your religion, your sacrifice. And again, a lot of people out here who've heard about these religious clauses have, not paid too much attention to it because, oh, well, I'm straight. I'm straight. They're not going to do anything to me. Yeah, they might not take care of a gay person, but how's that going to affect me? It's going to affect you. These people don't stop. These religious freaks do not stop. First, it's, I can't treat you because you're unmarried. Next, I can't treat you because you're Jewish. Next, I can't treat you because you're Muslim. Next, I can't treat you because you're atheist. You don't comport with my religious values. That's the kind of freedom of religion they're looking for. The freedom to use their religion to discriminate against you, to discriminate against all of us. You don't get to be a vegan waitress at the chicken wings restaurant and refuse to serve chicken wings to people because it's against your moral values. You don't get to be the Muslim bartender and not serve alcohol to people because it goes against your Muslim values. You don't get to be the Jewish deli owner and, well, I guess you do get to be that. But you get my point here. We can't allow these white Christian nationalist, theocratic freaks to try to dictate who gets services, who gets treatment, who gets accommodations, and who does not. If it couldn't be any more clear that their goal of Make America Great Again is to go back to the time when white, Christian, straight men are the default and the exalted ideal, and everyone else has to know their place, and everyone else has to fit into the hierarchy. That is where they want to take us. That is where they want to go. That's what they thought made America great. And you can kind of see the through line, can't you? This was a country that was founded through the compromise of slavers and northerners. This was a country that was founded by people committed to a genocide of the Native American population so they could steal their land. This is a country that was founded by people who expanded the West through the exploitation of Asian labor, and then the lynching of those people, a lot of folks don't know the largest lynching that took place in the United States wasn't of black people, it was of Chinese. We actually created laws, the Chinese Exclusion Acts. We directly in our legal statutes instituted discrimination against a specific race. So you can kind of see how they might feel themselves in the MAGA world to be the inheritors of that legacy, of that heritage of supporting the crown during the colony era, during the Revolutionary War era, of supporting the Confederate cause. How dare you try to force us to give up slavery when that was part of the compromise? That was part of the deal for putting the Union together, was allowing for slavery. They are the ideological heirs of the Ku Klux Klan that rose up in retaliation for Reconstruction after the Civil War, that dedicated itself to wiping out the gains made by the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments. They are the heirs to the legacy of the Nazi sympathizers in the 20s and the 30s and 40s of the 20th century. The Henry Ford types, the Charles Lindbergh types. They are the heirs to the 70s and 80s neo-Nazi movements in the Pacific Northwest, the Aryan Nations compound up in Hayden Lake, Idaho. They've been with us for a long time. It's funny when I see people, this is not the country we are. This can't be who we are. Taking people of a certain race and locking them up into concentration camps, that can't be who we are. It is who we are. Ask George Takei. He got locked up in a concentration camp at the age of 5 because he was Japanese. We had all sorts of those concentration camps throughout the state of Idaho. There's monuments to them. You can go look at them, the places where we held the Japanese, stole their property, held them in camps. No, the story of America, folks, the real story of America, has been all of the freedom fighters and truth seekers and justice seekers who have fought against that ingrained legacy, who have fought to make the words, the aspirational words of our Constitution mean something. We the people, all men are created equal, with liberty and justice for all. We're the ones taking those ideals, written hypocritically by slave owners and genociders. We're the ones who've taken those aspirations and run with them and tried to make them actually true by passing the 13th, 14th, 15th, 19th Amendments, by passing the Civil Rights Acts and the Voting Rights Acts. We're the ones who are actually aspiring to make the America of the future that our founders were dreaming of. They are the ones who want to return America back to its original compromises. The 3/5 compromise, black people only count as 60% of a human. In merciless Indian savages whose land we can take. And it's up to us to be strong and proud of being those freedom fighters. That's what makes America great. Harriet Tubman, Frederick Douglass, John Brown, Cesar Chavez. These are the people that make America great. I'm disgusted every time that I come up with this religious push to turn America into a theocracy, to ignore the separation of church and state, to try to instill in our youth this myth, this propaganda that somehow America is a Christian nation, when the founding fathers in the Treaty of Tripoli said precisely the opposite, that the United States is in no way founded on the Christian religion. Yes, there were a lot of Christians who founded America. Yes, there was a lot of religion in the states. Absolutely. But the goal here is a multi-ethnic, multi-sectarian, multi-racial, progressive democracy. And it's good to see there's younger Democrats, the Zoran Mamdanis, the AOCs, the Maxwell Frosts, Jasmine Crockett's, who recognize that this is a fight for the soul of the nation, not some numbers on the national debt ledger sheet, not some concern about a particular big bad bill, but an actual fight for the soul of this country and who we are and what we want to be. I hope more Democrats start to take it seriously. I hope you all take it as seriously as I do. And to hell with Tennessee and all these states that are passing these religious exemption laws.
And it goes down smooth. Hey!
Well, that's all the time we've got for this week's smoke session. And looky there, I managed to trim, 45 minutes to an hour off of my last podcast length? I'm trying to keep it short, but I don't think I can get this thing under an hour. I just got way too much to say. The Radical Russ Show is produced, directed, researched, written, recited, posted, and catered by me, Radical Russ Belville, and governed by Creative Commons share-alike licensing. News clips and social media posts are reproduced under fair use copyright laws for commentary and analysis. My main theme is We Love the Herb by Herbal Nation, and interstitial music is by me, my bass, and my drum machine, which brings us to our post-credits scene. And, just three quick things here. I saw that Delta Airlines is going to try to use AI pricing. They're going to set up an artificial intelligence to scan who you are and what you're likely to pay, and then provide a tailor-made price just for you. Yeah, right. Do you know how hard this is going to get gamed? People are just going to create their own AI bots to buy AI price tickets that fool the AI bot into thinking that you would pay less for a ticket. I mean, this already happened in a sense. There was this guy who discovered that when you're booking flights, like say you wanted to fly from Portland to Denver, right? You look up the flight, and Portland to Denver is, let's say, $250, right? But then you look up another flight, Portland to Dallas, with a layover in Denver, and that flight's only $150. So you could just book the Portland to Dallas flight and only take check-on bags, get off in Denver at your layover, and just don't take the rest of the flight to Dallas. Save yourself $100. This guy got so good at it, he made a website, I don't know if it exists anymore, called Skiplagged. Skiplag, which is you're skipping the lag, you're skipping the layover, right? I used to use this for flights all the time. I'd book cross-country flights, but only get off in Denver or get off in Phoenix or whatever the layover was, and saved a whole bunch of money. The same damn thing is going to happen with this AI pricing. Oh, other thing I want to talk about, everybody on my social media feed is raving about the new Superman movie, and just gushing about this. I've not seen, the only negative stuff I've seen has been from stuff like Ben Shapiro. You know, the people who you'd want to hate the movie hate it. So sometime this week I'm going to go see the Superman movie, so don't give me any spoilers. I already know that Crypto the dog is in it, but I'm looking forward to seeing the new Superman movie. I've never been a big Superman fan because I always thought the character was just way too powerful to have any care about, like he's got no weaknesses. But well, from what I've read, people say they've done it right, that this is the best Superman movie since Chris Reeve, and that's saying something to me because, you know, I'm a child of that era, and Christopher Reeve is my Superman, so we shall see. And one last thing, I got a rant about self-checkouts at the store. Some of the stores are starting to take out the self-checkouts, and I vehemently oppose this. I am pro self-checkout. Now, I know a lot of people on the labor side is like, they're taking our jobs. The self-checkout takes away a checker's job. Well, you know what? Some of these checkers need to lose their jobs. So I'm going to some of these checkouts where I have to let them bag it. Nobody knows how to bag groceries anymore. This lady the other day, she's putting like bags of stuff on the bottom of the bag, and then cans of soup on top of the, like it was like egg noodles, and then she's putting cans of soup on top of the egg noodles, just crushing the egg noodles. Like, lady, the hell? And the other thing I gotta gripe about, the cart corrals. Okay, so at the parking lot, right, you take your shopping cart back to the corral, right? Nowadays, the stores have two sizes of shopping carts. You got the big standard shopping cart, and then you got your little 2-basket shopping cart, right? And then you go to the cart corral, and some of these cart corrals actually have two separate little aisles for the carts to put in. Some of them it's just one big aisle, but it's wide enough for 2 rows of the carts, right? Who are you bastards that are putting the big cart in the little cart side and putting the little cart on the big cart side? Can't you tell when you get there that everybody's been putting the big carts on one side and the little carts on the other side and match which one you're... So you get to the thing, and the carts are sticking way outside the parking lot space because people have jammed in a big cart, a little cart, a big cart. They don't fold in and See, these are the things that make me upset. You can contact me by email at radicalruss@gmail.com. Call my message line at 877-RUSS-420. That's 877-877-420. And reach me on social media on Blue Sky as radicalruss.com and nowhere else. You can support this podcast financially by donating to Radical Russ on Venmo, Rad Russ on Cash App, or via PayPal on my website at radicalruss.com. Get this podcast on Spotify, Apple Music, my website, or wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for listening, and until next week, take care of each other.
You take a seed, you